Hello and welcome to the Poyang Lake Mystery. In many locations around the world, there are quite a few bodies that hold mysterious attributes that can't be explained. Some are simply waters that are said to heal people of what ails them, while others seem to go on the other side of the coin. This includes strange USO activity, which is unidentified submerged objects, ancient monsters that swim just under the water's surface, and most famously, the ability to make planes and ships vanish from the face of the earth. With today's topic, we have a body of water that has all of those things, excluding the healing part. I found this topic while going over my notes and suggestions from you, but I also use those notes to write down stuff I randomly find. I mention this only because I didn't see a name beside the topic, but for some reason, I can't shake the feeling that one of you mentioned this idea to me. If I am correct in this thought, please let me know in the comment section, and I promise to give you credit for it in next week's video. Poyang Lake is found in Jiangxi Province in China, and is known as the largest freshwater lake in the area. It is fed by three main rivers, the Gan, the Seine, and the Shu, which are all part of the Yangtze. The lake is recorded to have come to existence when the Gan River backed up in 400 AD, flooding the Poyang area, which was originally just grassy fields, and formed the body of water we see today. The lake is commonly 110 miles long, 11 miles wide, and ranges in depth from 28 feet to 82 feet. However, all those figures change drastically during the area's dry periods versus its wet times. In 2016, the lake dried up so much in a drought that much of the area returned to a grassy field that residents could walk through. Yet in 2017, there was enough rain that its water level raised to a dangerous height. I know you may be wondering what all this information has to do with a paranormal channel. Well, this lake is known as the Chinese Bermuda Triangle, as well as Ghost Area, Waters of Death, or even the Place of Death. The last two names may be in relation to all the people who became displaced when the lake was formed, or it could be due to the famous Battle of Lake Poyang. In 1363, a naval battle took place between the Ming and Han dynasty, in which they utilized firearms for the first time. It is said the battle was fairly bloody, with the Ming dynasty coming out victorious. Now, with all the history out of the way, let's move into the stuff I know you are probably more interested in hearing about. On April 16th in 1945, a 2,000-ton Japanese cargo ship by the name of Kobe Maru was traversing the lake loaded with treasure and priceless artifacts stolen from the Chinese, as well as a crew of over 200 soldiers. While crossing near the Laoyi Temple, the ship inexplicably sank without leaving a trace, and I should mention this all happened on a clear day with calm waters. According to the story, the Japanese Navy sent out 7 divers to recover the lost ship and its contents. During this mission, all of the divers disappeared, but one. When the surviving diver was recovered, he was in a fit of speechlessness and terror by what he had apparently witnessed under the water's surface. According to the story, he never did tell anyone what he saw, and it is said that he eventually became insane due to the event. After World War II, the Chinese government decided to investigate the wreckage of the Kobe Maru, hoping to recover their lost treasures. This time they hired an American salvage expert by the name of Edward Bohr. In the summer of 1946, Edward and his team of divers searched the area for over a month, but oddly enough, couldn't find the ship or its cargo, and the ship went down in only 30 feet of water. To make things even stranger, there are reports that a few of his divers turned up missing as well. Years later, Mr. Bohr retold his adventures in trying to recover the treasure to the United Nations Environment News. In his accounts, he said he saw a bright beam of light emerge from the lake bed, and with it came an ear-piercing screeching sound. He said with all this activity, he could feel a force pulling him and his other divers into the light source. Edward managed to free himself from getting pulled in, but he watched in horror as the other divers trapped in this strange force get sucked towards the light and vanish without a trace. Unlike most locations that only have a handful of strange occurrences, this is a different story. From 1960 to 1980, over 200 ships, along with their passenger count of over 1,600 people, mysteriously vanished without a trace while traversing the lake. Even stranger yet, on August 3rd in 1985, 13 ships didn't make port in one single day. The only difference here is that there were passengers who managed to escape whatever is causing ships and divers to vanish without trace. However, all those who survived came back unable to remember what happened, noted losing time, and were disoriented, in some cases even becoming insane. In 2001, a cargo ship hauling sand on a clear, calm day suddenly was sunk when a large wave appeared out of nowhere and claimed the vessel. Again, in March of 2010, a 1,000-ton ship was near the shore when it inexplicably vanished beneath the water for no discernible reason. All these notable reports don't even include the multitude of fishing vessels that never return after venturing out into the water. I know what many of you may be thinking, that these ships sinking must be the result of hitting a sandbar or something that is undetected above the lake's surface. There is evidence that supports the idea that sandbars have shown up suddenly, but it doesn't explain the strangest part of this story. With at least the 250 massive shipwrecks mentioned in this video, none of the wreckage was ever found. Many people have searched for them, and sonar images have been used, but the ships just seem to have vanished. This even ties with the fact that much of the area is uncovered during the drought season, and wrecked ships are never found. In the early 2000s, a researcher from the Nanjing Institute of Geology and Limnology named Jiahu Jiang decided to search for the lost vessels. Using an advanced sonar system, he managed to locate 16 magnetic anomalies, but only one had the shape of a ship. The team did recover small parts of ships, but that just led to more of a mystery as to why they were being broken into pieces the moment they sank. He noted that it was almost as if the lake was eating these ships. However, maybe it was something else, as there are reports of people seeing the shadow of an unknown lake monster swimming just under the surface. I know, just about every body of water seems to have legends of a lake monster, but I did find something interesting while researching this topic. In a book called Gibuyu, What the Masters Will Not Discuss, according to Yuan Mei, by Paolo Santangelo, it describes a lot of tales dealing with the supernatural and paranormal between the years 1716 and 1798. In this book there is an interesting passage, specifically about Poyang Lake, where it is said to have a snake-head spirit living in it. This creature was very large, caused massive waves to appear out of nowhere, and was known to tear ships apart and drown the crew. I know in mentioning this that sometimes legends are just legends, but I found it interesting that similar events mentioned in the book describe exactly what people are saying is happening. Not only are the ships being broken into small bits and the crew vanishing without a trace, but the reports of giant waves coming out of nowhere on a calm day are hard to ignore. Not only that, but something even more odd is that it is said that terrible lightning storms will appear and disappear just as quickly as they came. And in other stories, whirlpools will also emerge. I have read that many people theorize that underwater UFOs, normally called USOs, are said to be the culprit in many of these claims. But at the same time, I couldn't find any stories effectively showing sightings of one, other than lights being seen under the water. One of the most confounding disappearances involves a diver by the name of Shen Dali. If the other reports weren't strange enough, this case might take the cake. Shen was a salvage diver, and he had decided to try his luck at uncovering some of the missing treasures on the lake bottom. Well, during his dive, he vanished without a trace, like so many unfortunate souls before him. I know, that doesn't seem that strange compared to the others. But unlike the others, his body was eventually found, floating in Changbashan Lake, which is about 9 miles away from Poyang Lake. I will also add that those bodies of water are not connected at all. Now, this lake doesn't seem to only have a penchant for making humans and ships vanish. There is also a story that really makes one wonder, what is going on? In 1977, 3 dams were constructed, which took many months to build. The largest of the 3 was 2,000 feet long, 165 feet wide, and 50 feet tall. Well, as you may have guessed, in one night this vanished into thin air as well. Not a single remnant or piece of concrete was ever found, and this disappearance still remains a mystery. Normally I can add a bit of perspective as to some possibilities as to what might be occurring in the topics that I cover, but with this one, I'm at a loss. The thing that really bothers me is that some of the details given by survivors describe loss of time and being disoriented. This would indicate behaviors we normally read about with alien abduction scenarios, and the bright light would fit as well. The problem is that I have to wonder, what would an alien race want with so many ships? Most abductions don't involve taking a car or house with them. There are a few examples of vehicles being taken aboard, but even in those cases, the people return with it. Let's also factor in that having an underwater base would be fine if the area wasn't known to dry up just about every year. As stated, this is really confusing, and I would love to hear your opinions about it. All I know is that if I ever get the chance, I will not be tempting fate and going near that water. It is at this time that I want to thank my Patreon supporters and welcome Barry Barrett. Thank you all, and know that if you want to check out my Patreon page, I'll provide a link to it in the description. I normally always upload the scripts I write each week, which can include things I remove from the video. At times I will also post extended audio of videos of things that were too long to keep in the finished upload. A good example of this is when I did the interview with Mike Ricksecker from Haunted Road Media. I removed almost half an hour of extra content from that video you see on YouTube. The unedited version is on Patreon. As of late, I have been posting sneak peeks at my new thumbnails for the week's video the moment I complete them. I figured I would mention all this so you know what exactly is going on over at that site. If you haven't yet done so, please consider subscribing to my channel for similar content to this, and I also would greatly appreciate it if you could share my videos with someone you know who may enjoy this type of content. With that, be safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Later!